Good evening, Mr. Furno.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing just fine, thank you.
I'd like to call to order the regular board meeting of the Antelope Valley Union High School District and Pinco meeting. Good evening. Please be advised that the Board of Trustees are participating in this regular board meeting November 19th, 2020 with teleconferencing. The meeting is being recorded and all actions will be taken by a roll call vote. I would like to ask board members to respond to the following questions as I call your name. Are you able to hear our proceedings on your end? Mr. Johnson?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Perrell?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes, and Ms. McGrady, yes. We do not have any comments from the public on closed session items for the closed session. So the Board of Trustees will adjourn to closed session to consider and may act on any of the closed session matters listed in agenda item 17. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. Any discussion?
Yes, there's discussion. Board Clerk. This is a question for Dr. Vieira. Dr. Vieira?
Yes, I'm here.
I'm seeing in closed session that there is discussion today in regards to what vendor are you planning on using to discuss the legal matters for closed session? It's 54957.6 for labor negotiator.
Mr. Brettenhill will be speaking to item B in closed session.
What vendor are you planning on using for those legal matters?
Just to clarify, you talking about closed session item B, conference with labor negotiator? Is that the question?
No, sir, I'm sorry. I asked what vendor are you planning on using for the discussion of those legal matters? Are you using AALRR? What vendor are we using?
There's no vendor that's in closed session tonight that we'll be speaking with.
There's no attorney will be present in closed session?
Yes, there will be an attorney present in closed session.
What vendor are they representing?
Fagan, Friedman, Full Frost, F3.
Okay, I'm asking because I had requested for you to share with the board. It's my understanding, and the board is aware, that we do not have a contract with Fagan, Friedman, and Full Frost. That contract expired June 30th, 2020. So I'm asking, how is our board able to use a vendor that has an expired contract?
Because I have the ability to work with counsel. What I don't have the ability to do is pay counsel. That's what the board needs to do.
Okay, and so this board, is my understanding from my communication with looking through our board bylaws and CSBA that we're not supposed to be doing business with any vendors if we don't have a contract with them. But I am aware that our board, we do have open contracts with vendors. I know the board majority has approved AALRR that has an open PO with $250,000 on it. In addition to, we have a contract with Harrison Associates, which they're not getting paid, but I'm just saying, I don't know. We have a board majority. We still have 4 members on this board that can also bring this matter up to have a vote on it. So that was my question in regards to that. So this is my second question, during our July 23rd board meeting, this was a similar issue that took place where we had other vendors whose contracts have expired. And as the superintendent of our district, that is one of your responsibilities to bring to the board when vendors' contract expires, that you bring that information to the board for our acknowledgement. And that is something that hasn't been brought to the board. So I also saw that in closed session, as one of the other things that's supposed to be discussed is your evaluation, or
That's a closed session item, so we really
right.
can't
I'm not,
discuss it
I'm
here.
not, Mrs.
No,
McGrady,
okay.
I'm
That's
talking
for
to,
closed session. That's for closed session.
exactly, exactly. But I'm talking to Dr. Vieira. So thank you very much. So what I would like to say, Dr. Vieira, is I would like to have an opportunity to be able to do my job as a board member on this board. And just like I was just recently interrupted, this is one of the reasons why I am restrained from going into closed session. And this is some of the hostility that I'm saying that I'm receiving when I'm in closed session. I would like to have the freedom to be able to have discussions without being verbally attacked or harassed just from having open discussion. So I'm just stating again for the record, when we can establish how I can some kind of way as an elected official be protected from this type of harassment, because I'm not an employee with the school district. There has to be some kind of way where that is a respected factor on this board. And I would like to be able to come in, whether I can work with the grand jury or the district attorney's office or whomever, to be able to have that right to be able to do that. And that's the responsibility of us being able to work together so we can do the business of the students in this district. And I'm done with my comments. Thank you for answering, Dr. Vieira. Thank you.
Okay. We are voting on whether to go to closed session. Student, Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
No.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand.
Sorry. No.
No? Did you say no?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Perrell is a no. Dr. Ruffin?
No.
No. And Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. And Ms. McGrady? Yes. So we will be going to closed session. We just won't be able to vote on anything. We will come back at 7 for our regular meeting. Thank you.
to agree, right?
Oh,
Hello?
Hello?
Welcome back, Dr. Ruffin.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, Mrs. White. How are you tonight?
Pretty good. And you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Ready for your Thanksgiving?
No.
Ready for some time off?
Absolutely.
There you go. Okay. We'll go with that.
What? So go ahead and make sure you mute your mic, Mrs. White, and then we should be getting ready to go here in about 15 minutes.
Okay, hon. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Hey, Gary, this is just a mic check. Can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Kelly, you're coming across. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you hear me, Mr. Allen?
Yes, sir. We can hear you now. Welcome back, Mr. Nehan and Ms. Shandlin.
Thank you, Gary.
Can you hear me okay, Gary?
Yes, I can hear you fine, Mr. Nehan.
Thank
Welcome
you.
back, Mr. Furnow.
Hello. Thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome back, Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. We'd like to reconvene the regular meeting of the Antelope Valley Union High School District Board. We are at 3A for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We are at 4, the PINCO meeting. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adjourn to the PINCO meeting. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion.
Okay.
Second.
Mr. Rush, and I believe Ms. Perrell was a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Aye. Ms. Perrell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. And Ms. McGrady? Yes. There are no public comments on PINCO this evening, so we'll move on to C. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve and authorize the purchases outlined on the attached schedule. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, that was Mr. Rush, and the second was Ms. Pearl. Okay, any discussion?
Yes. What is the need for a videographer?
Would you say that again, please?
What is the need for a videographer?
I can help with that if you would like. PINCO hired a videographer because typically in December, there's a large food meeting that all of the organizations go to in the state. And since it's virtual this year, they did a video, they created a video to promote PINCO to other school districts who are not in it in an effort to get more members.
So why don't the other districts contribute?
Well, PINCO, I'm not sure I understand your question.
Is this a partial contribution? We pay $1,500 and other people pay a portion of this?
No, this is PINCO is a separate organization from AVUHSD. This is the total cost for the video is $1,500. That $1,500 is assessed out to all 34 school districts based on their participation in PINCO. So it might actually cost us $100.
Okay, so what is the funding source? So our board is responsible for approving $1,500 for 34 other school districts, and this is coming from where?
The other 34 school districts is the funding source. It ends up in their monthly bill when they buy food, and also they pay, each of the 34 districts pays for their fair share of the cost to operate PINCO, which would be the salaries of the PINCO employees.
Mr. Hawkins, what you just explained does not make any sense to me about why we're approving $1,500.
Because the Antelope Valley Union High School District Board is the board that oversees PINCO. It is the it's the official. Now I'm losing my words here, but our district oversees PINCO, and we are the official approver for all of their activities.
So what I think I heard you say is this year the meeting was virtual, which means it was already videotaped if it was virtual, and we're still paying $1,500 or approving $1,500 again for.
No, that's incorrect. The meeting is virtual. You're absolutely correct on that, but it's a trade show meeting. And so all of the different vendors, and in this particular meeting, PINCO is a vendor trying to solicit business from, solicit other school districts to join. And so for $750 a day, the videographer spent 2 days and created a sales video, so to speak, for the PINCO organization as a whole to influence others to ask to see about becoming members, so 34 can become 36 or 38 members.
I'm still not clear why the authority is for us to make that decision for other districts.
Because, I'm sorry, PINCO has already approved it internally to charge themselves. We are just the final authority on it. That's why we approve everything for PINCO. If you notice, on the last, every month we have purchase orders that we approve for PINCO. And
In essence, if I
this
could
is
just,
the official board of PINCO.
if I could, Mr. Hawkins, if I could just add to this, we're in essence the LEA of PINCO. PINCO is the organization that has, as Mr. Hawkins says, 34 other districts that work as a co-op together to share the costs of large distribution of foods to all of these districts. This videography is basically a promotional that would go out to the PINCO members to try to really solicit more, to get more members as a part of the PINCO to even become more efficient, if you will. So we're in essence the LEA of PINCO, incorporating all those districts.
Any other questions or discussion?
So what you're saying, Dr. Vieira, is that all 34 of these many agencies have already agreed to some degree that they thought that this was a good idea to promote this food service through as a unit, and they all contributed, and this is the governing agency that's saying we approve that we want this videographer or to pay for this
Yes.
this service.
Yes, that's correct. The 34 districts have agreed that they're willing to share the cost of this videographer at $1,500. That is correct.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or discussion? Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Aye. And Ms. McGrady, aye. So that passed 4 in favor plus Mr. Johnson. We will reconvene our regular meeting at this point, and we are at 6 ICC student representatives. Mr. Johnson, would you like to introduce our first guests?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ladies and gentlemen of the board and cabinet, Antelope Valley High School.
High School ASB. My name is Brianna Rojas. I am the ASB president. I wanted to start off by introducing our executive board. We put together pictures and short bios of our executive board so that our student body can get to know the faces and names of our ASB members. Our theme this school year is, although we may be apart, we're all in this together. Here we have our ASB president, Brianna Rojas, our vice president, Norma Leyva, our secretary, Andrea Alacron, our treasurer, Fernando Morales, and our speaker of the house, Anthony Barunda.
Hi, I would like to introduce to you all of our committees. The reason why we showcase our committees on these slides is so that our student body can get to know all the members of our ASB team and the different roles that they have in order to make ASB successful at bringing fun activities to our student body virtually. First up, we have our activities. Now, activities is in charge of making activities for the school. And then next, we have our publicity and promotion committee who promote these activities. Our fundraising committee who help fund for those activities. Our design committee who help create flyers for those activities. And lastly, our outreach committee who help reach out to the community within and outside of school.
Motivational Monday is something that we do every week where an inspirational quote is posted to our ASB's Instagram account. These quotes help our students start the week off positively and remind them that we're all in this together, which is so important, especially in times like this where distance learning can be a challenge. ASB cards are on sale for $10 until December 31st and will be $20 starting January 1st. The link to purchase them is shown here. We have had 2 fundraisers, one at Sweet Frog and another one at Panda Express. The funds we raised will be used to plan events for the future.
Some activities that we have hosted virtually for our student body are 2 Spirit Weeks and Movie Night on Student Free Day. We love to see our students get into school spirit. In our first Spirit Week, we had participation from both our students and our staff. We had an amazing time in our Blue Spirit Week as well as ending the week with our very own virtual Halloween costume contest. ASB thought it would be fun for our student body to come together on Student Free Day and enjoy a movie night where we showed the Addams Family, and it was a fun and relaxing way to enjoy Student Free Day.
Here we have our staff spotlight. Our reasoning behind staff and student spotlight is that even though we may not be on campus, we can still introduce the student body to various members of our staff and students. Every Friday, one staff member and one student that represents the spirit of AV High is highlighted on our Instagram. We have our principal through our football coach, as well as student spotlight. We interview our VP through our football players and soccer players and more. So our first program feature was our cafeteria staff who work hard to provide meals to our student body.
ASB also promotes cultural diversity such as Hispanic heritage. We posted on our Instagram pictures of influential figures in the Hispanic culture such as Selena Quintanilla and Frida Kahlo. We also assisted Miss Alice collect sweaters, jackets, and coats for our fall coat drive. And we would like to say thank you to Miss Alice for hosting the fall coat drive and letting ASB be a part of it. And for the month of November, ASB has planned Thankful Thursday, where ASB gets tagged in photos of students and staff who others are thankful for. This occurs throughout every Thursday for the month of November. Thank you, and go Lopes!
Ladies and gentlemen of the board and cabinet, Little Rock High School.
I am Alanis White, and I am the sophomore class president.
I am Jacob Moore, and I am the ASB president.
I'm Alejandrina Mora, the ASB secretary. I'm Kayla Portillo, the sophomore class secretary.
And I'm Abigail Velasquez, the ICC commissioner at Little Rock High School.
In this presentation, we will discuss Art Week, Among Us Game Night, Monstober Spirit Week, the Blood Drive, and the monthly community service fundraisers.
So for Art Week, it was held throughout the week of September 21st to September 25th. We had student art and famous art be recognized. Each day we had a new theme for anybody to create art, and at the end of the week, we had 2 winners selected to receive a prize. It was super successful and had a great turnout rate.
Next, we have the Among Us Game Night. So, Among Us is an app in the phone that is like a runoff of Murder Mystery. We got people to be aware of this event by posting a flyer on our school account. We put up the rules and regulations on our Google Slides that was accessed through a link tree on our account. This event was held on October 29th from 2:30 to 4. 2:30 to 3 was a free period when we had 20-minute group sessions. Then we had 20-minute group sessions. What I mean by this is the first 30 minutes we had everyone join in and we'd listen to music. Then after that, we would switch from group to group. We established group leaders and had them create codes. Every 20 minutes, the groups would mix up members.
Next, we had a Monstober Spirit Week. We had a total of 6 Spirit Days starting on October 26th to October 30th. Our Spirit Days consisted of Harry Potter Day, Spooky Socks Day, Pumpkin Carving Contest, Halloween Decor, Makeup or Mask Day, and on Halloween, a costume contest. On November 7th, Cedars-Sinai hosted a blood drive at Marie Kerr Park. The coordinator, David Keys, invited our students to participate in the blood drive as well as get help from others. There were several jobs for us. Some worked at the registration table, some worked at the snack table, some cleaned everything after use to respect COVID guidelines, and some students worked to pass out shirts and coupons to those who donated just as a small thank you for their kindness. I think as a leader, it is important to take the initiative, and I can say that all of our LHS helpers did an amazing job, and I can't thank them enough for sacrificing and keeping a positive attitude throughout the day. It was truly a wonderful experience, and I can't wait for more just like it.
When the school year began, we had trouble trying to figure out how we can still serve our community virtually. Then we decided that every month we will create a shirt that has something to do with the National Awareness Month. All proceeds will be donated to a charity that is involved with that national awareness. Along with those fundraisers, we will also be having a canned food drive from November 16th to November 20th.
ladies and gentlemen of the board and cabinet, Courtsville High School.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board and cabinet. We are Courtsville High School, and we're excited to be sharing with you a few things that our school has been able to do over these last few months distance learning. Hi, my name is Colin Culver, and I currently serve as the ASB treasurer at Courtsville High School. And one of the events that we've been able to participate in for these last couple of months is known as Find Your Grind. Find Your Grind is a program headed up by a motivational speaker named Mike Smith, where we've been able to watch weekly inspirational videos from people about their careers. We've been able to create Flipgrid videos, which are short 30-second to a minute long videos about things like our digital brand, about things like looking into our futures, like things about opportunities, as well as some teachers have implemented in-class lessons embedded in their curriculum. Overall, this has been a good way for us to come together as a campus and start off the school year strong.
Hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth. I'm in charge of the Courtsville activities page on Instagram, and my topic was Club Rush. As most schools do, Courtsville has a Club Rush each semester. This year we had to transfer online due to circumstances, and a document was shared out to each grade level's homeroom with links to clubs. This event took place from 1 to 3, and over 40 clubs participated. There was an overwhelming amount of participation despite our circumstances. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eli Canet, and I'm a historian at Courtsville High School. Teacher Cribs is a great way for teachers and students to interact, and teachers are able to show off their workspace and style MTV Cribs. It had a big turnout on the videos that we posted on Courtsville High School activities page, getting almost 600 plus views.
Hello, my name is Malia Nakagawa. I am the class of 22 vice president. An upcoming event our ASB has been in the works of is the Virtual Staff Appreciation Week. It is imperative that the staff receives recognition for their hard work during this time more than ever. Several of my teachers, and I'm sure others as well, have expressed the difficulties of online classes. Within the next week, ASB has planned a number of activities, including a Martinelli bottle drive-through, and a get to know your student games. In the photos are the sign-up sheets for the letters to staff where ASB students were assigned to teachers to write to. As for the teacher playlist, we have them fill out a form with their favorite songs, and we're going to compile them into both a Spotify playlist and an Apple Music playlist. As for the teacher talents, we're going to have teachers show off their talents to their students.
Hello, my name is Alexis Jensen, and I currently serve as ASB secretary. Despite the distance this year, our special education committee is still going strong. We are constantly coming up with new ideas to connect to these kids. They were able to come back on campus this fall, and we came up with an art tutorial that they could participate in, going along with the fun theme of Halloween. Our committee came up with a 10-minute follow-along video that the students could actively follow along with, and we received positive feedback among all the teachers and the students, and we love seeing their artwork.
Overall, this school year is not what anyone was expecting. But through Courtsville's willingness to adapt, we have been able to still bring high-quality events and high-quality experiences to the students at Courtsville, and we hope to be able to continue doing that until we're able to get back on campus. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. McGrady, for allowing AV, Little Rock, and Courtsville to do it. We are grateful for what our ASB classes are doing across the districts and the different things that they're incorporating, such as their social media. We're thankful for all of it, so thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. We thank all of our presenters this evening. We thank you for taking the time to create these presentations for us. We look forward to the time that once again we can see you in person. Thank you so much and enjoy your Thanksgiving break. Okay, moving forward, we're at 6B, the written report for the annual review of student data related to placemat and advancement in mathematics courses. Mr. Nehan.
Dr. Kelly has a couple of brief comments.
Thank you.
Sure. Good evening, board and cabinet. This is our annual report that comes from Senate Bill 359 about California math placement of 9th grade students. We adopted this board policy back in 2015, and it's just the annual report, which you have, and I'm happy to answer any kind of questions you might have about the written report.
Thank you. Moving forward, we are at AVTA, Antelope Valley Schools Transportation Report Update. Mr. Hawkins?
Good evening. Nothing new to report. The agency is still providing transportation only for our district, for our special ed students. The other two members are not using the transportation agency right now. But I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving forward, we're at D, the review of action taken under Board Policy 2210. During the October 15th, 2020 regular board meeting, the board did not hold a closed session due to a lack of quorum. Consistent with the administration's recently developed protocols, we've reviewed the closed session agenda items from October 15th, 2020 regular board meeting to determine whether it's necessary for the superintendent to exercise his authority granted under Board Policy 2210 to approve actions necessary to avoid any risk to the safety or security of students, staff, or district property, or to prevent disruption of school operations. For the October 15th, 2020 regular board meeting agenda items that require board approval in which authority has not been delegated per the annual resolution or other board policy, administrative action has been taken per District Board Policy 2210 on the following agenda items from the meeting agenda. Final Compromise and Release Agreement, STS 21049, Item 18D for $13,525. This is for payment of compensatory services as part of a compromise and release agreement.
Mrs. McGrady?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to comment again that these actions are egregious and inappropriate. I have commented before on these actions, and I know that the board attorney, who we don't have a contract with since June 30th, 2020, who's been making comments, has also given an opinion on this. However, and I'm going to state it again, for the record, in order for Board Bylaw 2210 to be instated, the board has to give the superintendent approval to enforce such actions. And you just, and that the board is not one individual, it is the body and the vote of 3. No board members on this board has voted or approved any of these actions that you are saying. No one board member has any such power to do so. And you just stated for the record that you went into closed session. And even though you go into closed session, there was no quorum. So whatever was discussed cannot therefore come out. And then there's an action that Dr. Vieira afterwards triggers Board Bylaw 2210, and now there's an action that is being taken without a board majority taking action on it. I'm not sure how or why that keeps being missed, and it's stated in our board bylaws as such. So I'm just stating it again for the record that none of these things have been approved according to this board's bylaws. And I'm done with it. But thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. I'd just like to point out while we're talking about that you and Ms. Perrell have refused to come to closed session since last December. So anything the board needed to vote on, they have not been able to do because we haven't had a quorum. And we have to do the 2210 to try to avoid, we have to do it. I mean, there's no possible way you can go a year without making decisions for the board. And the two of you have refused to come since then. But let's move forward. Mr. from ABTA, do we have anyone from ABTA here?
Mrs. McGrady, thank you so much. And I'm glad that we're able to have this discussion. And as I state, when I come into When we, at the beginning of the board meetings, I state very clearly of the hostile work environment of why I do not go into closed session. And I do believe that we are professionals and we can mediate the hostile work environment so that I am allowed to serve as a board member and to go into closed session. And Dr. Vieira has resolved 2 of the issues, and I'm hoping that we can resolve the last issue so that that is not a problem. And whereas I am not going into closed session, I am present at the meetings. And there's a miscommunication that says that I am not present. I am here. I just don't go in there because I do not have to be subjected to hostile verbal abuse and those type of things. And I also am aware that we are allowed, or the board clerk is allowed, according to, let me pull out, there is a Education Code 54957.2 that provides the board clerk an opportunity to take notes or minutes. We can also try to mediate by having our closed sessions being recorded, if that's an opportunity, so that there can be some proof of what's being said. I just need some protective layers as to how I'm being protected in closed session of what's been, there are ways that we can mediate that. So it doesn't have to be an absolute as to what is happening during closed sessions, but I do need to be protected because I should be allowed to be able to enter into that space and not be verbally attacked. So thank you.
Ms.
Thank you. I
McGrady.
would like to remind anyone excuse me, go ahead.
Sorry, Ms. McGrady, if I could just speak, I do agree with the member of Area 5 that this is egregious. I think it's egregious that 2 members of this board have failed to do their board duty to attend closed session. I think that it's egregious that the member of Area 5 claims that Ms. McGrady creates a hostile environment when she has created a hostile environment in the regular session for myself and many other students in this district. So I do agree that it's egregious, but not for the same reasons.
Thank you. I was just going to remind everyone we are meeting virtually. All of our meetings, including our closed session meeting, is a virtual meeting. We're calling in for those. May we move forward? Do we have anyone from ABTA tonight? Okay, hearing none. From CSEA, Ms. Karen White?
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Board Clerk Ms. McGrady, board members, Student Board Member Mr. Johnson, Dr. Vieira, Board Cabinet Mr. Furno, and Ms. Orozco. Here we are again in the middle of another COVID-19 crisis, one that is not just isolated, of course, to the LA County. So I'll try to make this short, but it won't be sweet. Besides making it very difficult for our families as we go into the holidays, COVID-19 also has effects on the efforts to have our students return to campuses for the spring semester. I do want to commend our district and their efforts in keeping our members, our teachers, students, and our community safe during this horribly difficult time. Even with our sites having periodic outbreaks, I believe that the district has moved quickly to isolate the COVID-19 from escalating through our ranks. So thank you. Thank you for your long days and your long nights, and as you worked with our employees with their questions and their concerns. On a different note, I'd like to request that the district take the classified training allocations and use it to send our members to the upcoming virtual Paraeducator Conference that's scheduled for March 3rd through the 5th of 2021. Last year, we missed the ability to send anyone because the conference was full. But as it turned out, COVID-19 popped up and then it was canceled. So luckily, we really didn't lose out. This year, though, it's virtual, and the registration is only $75 per person. Other financial benefits that come with the virtual setting is that there isn't any meals per diem, mileage, or room reservations to increase what it would have taken to send our members last year, and makes this a great opportunity for us. Taking these figures into consideration, CSEA would like to have 8 paraeducators attend this conference instead of 4. I hope you can make these reservations before there aren't any seats left, because this is a statewide event. At the moment, a current concern as we draw closer to the holidays is how our members who are on campuses versus those who are working remotely take their time next week and during our winter break. We want an equitable solution for all employees and not left with an impression that someone has been slighted concerning how they've had to take their leaves if they're not working remotely. Before I forget, I'd like to thank Jessica Malone, our district personnel technician, for sending out our most current seniority list to our members. Jessica, your efforts with the movement and personnel we've experienced since March is recognized, and we appreciate your hard work in pulling this information together for us. So thank you very much for that. Since March, we have endured a lot. For those we have lost, those that we have lost as far as loved ones, the loss of employees that we've worked side by side with over the years, our hearts reach out to you and your families, and we want you to know that we're thinking of you during this time. Lastly, CSEA wishes you all a safe and healthy Thanksgiving as we struggle to get control of the COVID-19. And if you're traveling, we wish you a safe trip and a safe return. I know it's difficult during these dark days that we're all experiencing, but we really do have a lot to be thankful for. Thank you for listening to our hopes and our concerns as we move through the last few days of the year 2020. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. White. We appreciate you being here and always appreciate hearing your concerns and having you speak. Moving forward, we are at G for public comments from the floor for agendized items. I believe we do have something from the public.
Yes, there's one comment on agendized items for agenda number 14. The comment is from Vivian. Still learning the process of how to address this board as I come in alone, knowing no one on this board regarding the famous prejudice Coach Hines from Highland and his abusive treatment to all races of kids and his intimidating supporter, Anthony Hunt and James Stockdale. However, without a doubt, I will stand for the lone Dr. Ruffin, who's trying to teach folks like our superintendent, McGrady and Rush, with the support of Jay Furnow. You cannot keep putting contracts and business items back on the agenda for payment simply because they're your friends. Contracts that are in place at your district are being ignored. How are you willing to use funds and pay out to folks that are not contracted simply because they may be Black or brown, such as Bruce Frank, Harrison Associates, all that had contracts for transparency, but you rid them and ignored their facts? But you're not saying anything about the no bid contract for Dr. Vieira's personal attorney, Jay Furnow of Fagan, Friedman, and Full Frost. Their contract ended back in June 2020, correct, Dr. Vieira? So damn, how do this district keep letting Julie Drake of the press continue her dying support for the alleged illegal payouts that being investigated by the California FCCP because she, with Jill McGrady and Danita Wynn, under our district, is using the AV press as her cover-up for reporting news and not sharing what appears to be in-kind contributions not being reported, but the Black and Browns and everyone in between you all dislike because of your racist way. Shame on your damn asses. Stop pretending that all the funds you're requesting for business and projects are legit when you know they're not. Be transparent, something I will ask Julie Drake's boss, Jennifer Garcia, why they don't get rid of someone who doesn't represent anyone of the district of color that the AVU HSD is employed by. Shame on you. You know who are on this board. Do us all a favor and pack up and leave with your former president of the US that hated most of you that voted for him like he hates people of color. Get in good trouble. God is watching you. Stop hating on Dr. Ruffins. She's trying to help this district. Please leave student Johnson free of your hatred. That concludes the public comments on agendized items this evening.
Thank you. We'll go to H, the public comments from the floor for non-agendized items.
The first comment is from Georgia Carol DeMaglio. Hello, this public comment is directed to board member Mrs. Amanda Perrell. I realize as an older community member, 71 to be exact, and one who has been in the Antelope Valley since 1958, I also attended elementary, junior high, and high school here. I am a retiree of the Palmdale School District and a current volunteer in the AVU-HSD. I am nonetheless baffled with your decisions, or should I say lack thereof, in regards to your position on the board. When you won your seat 2 years ago and took an oath to serve students and staff of this district, how can you in good conscience continue to abstain from voting, or worse, be told how to vote by another unserving member of this board? You are not fulfilling your duties you were elected to do, and therefore I and many others have urged you to do. Please resign. You are not serving this district with your no opinion or very swayed opinions. Your abstains or swayed votes have cost this district grant money, a voice at the CIF meetings, which means our athletic league has no say in upcoming COVID-based decisions, and have stopped the employment of an African-American male who has proved many times what an asset he would be for our students. Why would you want to continue to take up space on this board when your voice is not heard? You are no longer welcome here, and you really need to resign. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Georgia C. DeMaglio. The next comment is from Jeff Williams. Temporary modification to board policy 6145A, extra co-curricular activities, academic probation. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Vieira, and Cabinet. I am Jeff Williams, Athletic Director at Palmdale High School. Tonight, I am asking for your consideration to allow for a review and possible temporary modification to our board policy 6145A, academic probation. My association with the CIF Southern Section as an executive board member has provided me with much insight into the hardships our students are experiencing with regard to distance learning due to the COVID pandemic. Many of my CIF executive board colleagues throughout the state are facing the same challenges we are in our district. This is not only a state challenge, but a national one as well. In accordance with the governor's signing of AB 908, effective September 14th, 2020, I would like to propose for your consideration our district extend our current district academic probation policy from the most current 9-week grading period, end of Q1, and consider extending this policy back to the end of the 2020 second semester school year, June 2020. The concern of many at this time is that our policy is not in line with the current seasons of sports and other co-curricular events that require academic eligibility. If we were to extend our academic eligibility to August, all freshmen who came into high school with eligibility would have that eligibility for the upcoming athletic co-curricular season. Upperclassmen who had eligibility at the start of the school year, or those who were eligible for academic probation in August, would be eligible for participation. From a social, emotional, mental, and physical aspects, athletics and co-curricular activities provide a tangible connectivity for our students, which they have lost during this pandemic and distance learning. We continue to provide hope to the students we serve, and the consideration for a temporary modification to the board policy would reap positive results from the students and communities we serve. Please see CIF policy. With AB 908, schools during the 2021 school year may extend their probation for a longer than a semester. I've included a Q&A on this below. Q&A is for academic probation period, bylaw 205. Note, with the governor signing AB Bill 908 into law, effective September 14th, 2020, the governing board of each school district may adopt a policy that would allow a probationary period to exceed 1 semester in length through the completion of the 2021 school year due to the impact of
30 seconds.
This supersedes CIF bylaws 205.A.1 and 205.B.2, which state that a probationary period shall not exceed 1 semester in length. Question, does AB 908 apply to both public and private or parochial schools? Answer, while the language of AB 908 only references the governing board of each school district, for the purpose of CIF bylaws 205.A.
Time.
The next comment is from Carla Smallwood. The speech and language paraeducators ask for this to be read into the non-agendized public comments. We are requesting the ability to have a qualified substitute be requested by the speech and language paraeducators who call in an absence should they need one. Due to the nature and complexity of our positions, using a substitute has never been an option until now. The issue of a substitute was not a viable option due to the fact that our positions is distinctive and that we have a more specialized role in working with students, unlike being able to get a substitute for a classroom. When we call out for the day, we have to return and make up the required students' times in order to be in compliance with the students' IEPs. It makes having a day off almost pointless and stressful since we have to go back and make up that time. We implore you to please consider hiring Pamela Murray, a former SLPA who is now retired from our district, as a backup substitute when needed. Pamela is well versed with students and IEP scenarios. She is highly qualified and would easily be able to go to whatever site that needs her services. We ask that you reconsider her contributions as a substitute. This is a crucial need. The speech department paraeducator should have equal access to qualified substitutes like other classified paraeducators and staff. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. The next comment is from Robert Harris. Why are we allowing 2 board members to sit on our high school board who can't be trusted with money, for one, and another who can't be trusted as the director of special education? For the past 5 years now, I sit on the board of trustees of Wilsona School District that feeds into the Antelope Valley Union High School District Area 5. I also have almost 19 years of dedicated service with a neighboring district of special education. I know what it takes to be dedicated to one's students and other stakeholders within the district. However, I truly believe Perel and Ruffin do not have what it takes. I say on to Amanda Perel and Victoria Ruffin, your days on the Antelope Valley Union High School District are numbered, so go ahead and resign now. Thank you. Robert Harris, MAED/CI, WSD board member, 35-year resident of the AV. The next comment is from Lee Sin. Hooray that the tyranny is over. Your damned majority, whose only apparent goal was to frustrate and destroy the work of the high school district, has come to an end. You called for voters to vote, and vote they did. Count your days, Perel and Ruffin, because they are numbered. Better yet, resign now and save us all the headache that you have been creating since you have come onto this board. The voters gave you the benefit of the doubt as unknowns in last election. There will be no such luxury this time around. Volunteers will knock on every door in your district to make sure that you lose by a landslide. Why not just save everyone the trouble and resign now? The next comment is from Anonymous. How can the AV-UHSD teach leadership to students when Ms. Perel sits on the board failing to lead? Speak up or get out. The next comment is from James Tilton. As you all know, several staff members at Eastside High came down with COVID in the past few days. My heart goes out to these fellow Lions as they recover, and I know yours does as well. I also know that this isn't the first time my campus has been affected. We've had many students who've been infected as well. One of my students came down with COVID just last month. Her whole family tested positive. It's been almost 5 weeks, and she's just now starting to feel better. In both of these cases, I can't help but be grateful that I'm not in the classroom right now. Thankful that I don't have to come home every day to a chronically ill wife and wonder if I'd brought home the virus with me, a virus that would hurt her far more than it would hurt me. I know I'm not the only one with someone vulnerable at home. We have students who live with their elderly grandparents whose parents smoke. We have staff members whose spouses have asthma and cancer. I know that they are grateful, as I am, for every bit of protection we can find during these uncertain times. Distance learning hasn't been easy, but people like us are thankful for it, especially in light of these recent developments. That is why I hope that when campuses eventually reopen, that the Antelope Valley Union High School District will allow teachers and students, vulnerable loved ones at home, to continue distance learning until a vaccine is widely available. Thank you. The next comment is from Callista Hernandez. I am so excited to see this district moving back in the right direction again. Welcome back, Jill McGrady. Welcome back, Danita Wynn. It appears the voters have had enough of the dumpster fire that has been the last 2 years. Now, if only Amanda Perel and Victoria Ruffin would do us all a favor and resign so we could get on with repairing the damage they have created over the last 2 years. Either way, you will be out sooner or later, and don't let the door hit you on the way out when you go. Resident of Area 4. The next comment is from April Davis. To quote Les Brown, honor your commitments with integrity. Mrs. Perel, it's time to step up and do what you were elected to do. Represent the best interest of students, not the interest of Ms. Ruffin. Demonstrate to this community that you have integrity and be a board member that advocates for students. If you are unwilling to honor your commitment with integrity, then it's time for you to resign. The next comment is from Rudy Kuehler. I read online about a protest that was going to happen today outside the neighborhood of Amanda Perel. That is my neighborhood too. At first, I was so annoyed by this, but then I did some looking online and saw the mountain of issues that have been created by this board, and I quickly understood. I'm glad that COVID delayed this round of protesting in my neighborhood, but I hope that this is all resolved sooner than later for the sake of the students involved. The next comment is from Bianca Ortiz. This is my first time writing into a board meeting, so excuse me if I don't follow the protocol. I just want to say that I hope that Amanda Perel will think long and hard about resigning. Her contributions to this board, or more specifically, her lack of contributing to standing up for what's right, are not what we voted for. I'm embarrassed to have voted for her in the last election. As a Democrat, I took a chance on voting for a Republican, and at this point, I don't think any party would be willing to claim her. Please end the embarrassment for the community and your family and resign. The next comment is from Stacy Height. Last week, Veterans Day was celebrated in our country. Many veterans posted on social media to show their pride in serving our country. Mrs. Perel is one of those veterans who proudly displayed a picture wearing her Navy uniform. A few of her friends made comments thanking her for her service, and I too thank her and others who served in the military. I trust that when Mrs. Perel took the oath to defend and protect the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, she lived up to the promise when she served. 2 years ago, Ms. Perel took another oath to serve on the board. She had the man who is now her husband swear her in. I believe he may also be a veteran. Despite taking an oath of office, Ms. Perel has failed miserably to carry out her pledge. Without going into Mrs. Perel's suspicious departure from her PTA position, she has been disloyal to students and deceived the voters in Area 4 who trusted her with their votes. She failed to faithfully discharge the duties of a board member by not attending meetings, refusing to attend closed session, participating in secret and not so secret discussions, and votes with Ruffin. She comes to meetings unprepared and without the slightest bit of shame that is publicly said, I'm voting with them, referring to former member Davis and Ruffin. At the last meeting, Ms. Perel wanted it noted that she didn't vote with Ruffin when she abstained on the vote to hire Anthony Hunt. Her abstention is even more bizarre than her previous no votes because she still failed to do her job without an excuse. When asked about her abstention, Perel was silenced while Ruffin replied for her. If there was any doubt, it is now clear who determines how Mrs. Perel votes. If there was any legitimacy to the no votes or abstention against Mr. Hunt, Member Ruffin would spend lots of time explaining why she and Perel vote against him, just like she does every other thing she votes down. Where's the transparency, Mrs. Ruffin? Maybe if Mrs. Perel had finished the training for board members, she would understand why her entire tenure on the board has fell flat, and she's only brought dishonor to herself and her position. How sad for you, Mrs. Perel, a veteran selling the community out in favor of someone who has no problem publicly humiliating you when you don't perform on cue. Sooner or later, you will have to respond to questions about your behavior on the board. Mrs. Ruffin won't be in the room to help you with the answers. Do you remember the oath your husband read and you took without reservation or
30 seconds.
Persuasion? You abandoned your allegiance to yourself, your family, students, and staff when you sat down. Avoid disgracing yourself any further and resign tonight. The next comment is from Monica Dobson. Good evening, board, cabinet, and members of the community. I'm Monica Dobson, and the majority of this comment is directed to the board member from Area 4. It was just under a year ago I extended an invitation to you to join the Christmas event for foster youth at Palmdale High School, and later we met to have a meal and discuss concerns over your actions as a board member representing my area. At that time, I believed you when you said you would at least be transparent and explain your vote. Where's your transparency in voting when it comes to approving Anthony Hunt for a teaching position in the district? Voting no previously or saying you're abstaining from a vote was no different than you towing the voting line with a member from Area 5. There was absolutely no reason for you to abstain. There was in no way a conflict of interest. I gave you the benefit of the doubt that you were a person of integrity. Since that time, you have continued to disrespect the students of this district and its employees by refusing to act in their best interest. In addition, you have been furthest from transparent in your voting. This is evidenced by the immoral phone call between yourself and the member from Area 5 during the September 10th, 2020 board meeting, in which you were scolded for not seconding her motion to table an item. The recording of the incident is readily available for your listening pleasure, but I'm sure you don't want to hear yourself being publicly degraded by a colleague. You have made the conscious decision to be used by others simply because the decisions you alone have made in the past. For example, the PTA debacle in the Palmdale School District. There must be truth in the rumors if you left a position after allegations of mishandling of funds, and not once have you attempted to clear your name. As a member of a school board, we are supposed to believe that you're an upstanding citizen when all the proof and evidence speaks to the contrary. Please do the students of the Antelope Valley Union High School District and the constituents of Area 4 a favor and resign before you continue to make heinous decisions on our behalf. To the members of this board who have stayed the course on behalf of the students, teacher, and community, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. McGrady and Mr. Rush, for continuing to stand up to the members from Area 4 and 5 and continuing to do what's right for our students. Mr. Johnson, thank you for continuing to represent the students of this district with honor and integrity. The members from Areas 4 and 5 could learn from both of you and your predecessor. To Dr. Vieira,
30 seconds.
You have endured, and we thank you. The next comment is from Jana Jarvan. I am so disappointed in how Mrs. Pearl has represented me as a board member between the financial allegations against her and the clear lack of thinking for herself. Please do everyone in this valley a favor and resign. The next comment is from Jamie Howard. I was planning to protest today in front of the entrance to Amanda Pearl's neighborhood. Perhaps she wouldn't have cared. Perhaps she is counting herself grateful for the COVID spike that caused us to delay this event. Who knows? It isn't as if she ever defends herself, like commenting on the PTA allegations against her. I wish she did care, though, cared enough to vote for what is right, cared enough to stand up and say something in matters so vital to our kids' education. There's only one path to follow at this point if you want to do the right thing, Mrs. Pearl, and that is to resign. Let someone else take the reins who isn't afraid to speak up and face the tongue lashing that comes with it. The next comment is from Concerned Parent. I hereby demand the resignation of Amanda Pearl as she continues to violate the Brown Act and board bylaws with her actions and votes. She doesn't have the best interest of the students of the Antelope Valley and is a lapdog for Ruffin. The continued blocking of Anthony Hunt is in retaliation of well-deserved recall effort of Ruffin and Pearl. Mr. Hunt is more qualified than Ruffin and Pearl put together. Pearl, resign before we force you out in disgrace. The next comment is from Donna Benson. I saw a website dedicated to the resignation of Mrs. Pearl today. To believe that she hasn't resigned yet is probably the most shocking part. Even if we pretend for a minute that her gross negligence with PTA funds was simply a mistake, it's her voting record on this board that is so shocking. You don't make up for that with introspection. You make up for it by growing a backbone and taking responsibility by resigning. You swore to serve these students. Your votes have not done that. They have hurt kids. Do you hear that? Your actions, including the lack thereof, are hurting kids. Aren't you a veteran? How do you sign up to defend your country and then turn around and be so chicken as to not be willing to vote against another politician? You recuse yourself. That is not the action of the veterans I know. They had courage. I wish you did. Maybe you will find the courage in yourself to resign, and soon. That would show true remorse for what you have been a party to and the desire to make it right. The next comment is from Jennifer. Mrs. Pearl, I implore you as a member of this community district and parent of a student athlete who is most affected by your deplorable decision-making on this board to resign effective today. Save our students, employees, and this district from your further actions and decisions you continue to make with board member area 5. End it today by finding what shred of integrity you must still have left and do the right thing. I again repeat myself, resign effective immediately today. The next comment is from Olinda Morales. I had my sign ready today to stand outside of Mrs. Pearl's home in protest of how she has represented those kids who I care so much about in this valley. Conditions in the world delayed this for today, but they won't always. They also won't delay us from creating a website aimed at letting the world know about your record on this board. They won't prevent the next billboard. They won't prevent letters, emails, newspaper articles, or social media content either. How are you not embarrassed? How is your family not embarrassed? I know your neighbors are embarrassed. Do the right thing, resign. The next comment is from Karina Reyes.
I'm sorry, Christina, Board Clerk McGrady, it's 20 minutes at this point.
Okay, board, what would you like to do? Do you want to continue? Do we have more, I believe? Do we have more?
Yes, there are more comments.
Okay, board, what would you like to do? Would you like to hear the rest of the comments?
I would like to hear them. How about you, Amanda?
That's fine with me. We can go ahead and listen.
Oh, good.
Okay, let's move forward.
This comment is from Karina Reyes. I attended protest in Palmdale for Robert Fuller. I have marched in Black Lives Matters protest. I am active in my community, and I especially work hard to promote the safety of our children here in Palmdale. Calling for the resignations of Amanda Pearl and Victoria Ruffin are every bit as important as the rest of the protests and activities I have been involved in here in the AV. You are the worst kinds of threats to the kids, the ones who pretend to be helping them, but are in fact actively hurting them every single day. Talk all you want, or in Pearl's case, don't talk at all, but it is your voting record that matters, and that has time and time again shown an outright contempt of our children. You aren't hurting Dr. Vieira or the administrators by your actions. You are hurting the very students of our valley. Please, please, please let the healing begin and resign. The next comment is from a concerned parent. Mrs. Pearl, you ran on the platform that you would help our students with mental health and social and emotional learning. Instead, you have sat idly by as Dr. Ruffin continually attacks, berates, and belittles the very students you intended to help. Not only do you allow her to disrespect them, you allow her to disrespect you and dictate what you do. It seems as if you understand what she is doing is wrong and want to vote against her, but are afraid to. Either grow a backbone and vote for our kids, or resign so our kids have a fair chance with board members who actually care about them and their future. I am disgusted to know that I voted for a puppet. The next comment is from an EHS student. Mrs. Pearl, I am a student athlete at EHS. I work hard in my academics and at my sports. I pride myself for integrity, as some of my activities require me to have the highest of them. But as I listen to you conduct yourself in board meetings, I am ashamed to have you as a representative of my fellow peers in the area you represent for them. I'm angry that you still have a voice on this board to make decisions that affect the students and employees of this district. Do better by resigning from the board effective today. Your resignation would allow this district to move forward in the right direction for the students and employees. The next comment is from Natalie Rios. When the AV-UHSD decided to switch to trustee areas for voting, the idea was that various groups would be able to have representation on the board that came from a similar background and looked like them. Miguel Coronado ran on this idea, pleading for people to vote for him because he was the only Latino running. He lives by Quartz Hill High School and ran in Area 2, an area that is 60% Caucasian, and although not finalized yet, lost. Do you know what area is predominantly Latino? Area 4. I would love to see Latino representation on this board, but Area 2 isn't where it should be coming from. It should come from Area 4. If a certain board member from Area 4 were to resign, we could in fact appoint a Latino successor. You have the power to give that to our kids. Resign, resign, resign. The next comment is from Richard. Mrs. Perrell, this is your notice as a member of this community to resign effective immediately. Your blatant disregard and lack of integrity and decision-making for the students of this district is horrible. I implore you to do the right thing and resign. The next comment is from Ruben Mora. Before his defeat in the Area 3 election, Christian Green said in his debate, the recall failed. If he is listening, which I doubt he even genuinely cares enough about this district to be listening now that the election is over, I just want to let him and any others who sympathize with such sentiments know it did not fail. The recall is not a singular event. It is a process. It succeeds this election when Danita Nguyen, whom the former majority targeted, won. It will succeed again when the next round of recall signatures begin, unless, God willing, the remaining members of Area 4 and 5 resign. Worst case scenario, it will succeed in the next election. The recall supporters have swelled in their numbers to thousands. There are 2 left in our sights now, and we will not rest until they have resigned, been recalled, or defeated in the election. Whatever it takes, we are just getting started. The next comment is from Justin Lewis. To the Vivian lady who writes in every month on here to berate and belittle Anthony Hunt, Palmdale just voted him on a school board. Your opinion is not the majority. We know a great student advocate when we see one. The next comment is from bewildered parents. Mrs. Perrell, I am honestly bewildered at your behavior lately in these board meetings. You were voted in on the basis that you would support our students in our high school district. You have not done that and continue to destroy and dismantle our local high school district. Clearly, you were not able to make your own choices at the board meeting, as we have all heard you be berated by Dr. Ruffin. Clearly, at this point, your position on the board is more detrimental to our students, and I feel that you need to resign immediately. The next comment is from Arthur Hall. I realize it was back in May, and with COVID headlines and political races heating up, it may be forgotten or missed, but did we not address the board member gross financial irresponsibility here? A current serving board member removed from a PTA for gross negligence. How is she still on the board? Did they just give a grace period for resignation before forcefully removing her? If so, I hope she takes the opportunity to go quietly. I, for one, can't believe that it's not grounds for automatic dismissal from the position, but even if it isn't, she has to know the court of public opinion is done with her. The next comment is from Sarah. Mrs. Perrell, as a former student of this district, I have been disgusted by the lack of integrity and respect you show the students and employees. I ask you to resign effective immediately today. Allow our district to start heading back in the right direction by resigning. The next comment is from Humberto Espina. I just want to write in and let this board know that if in fact Amanda Perrell does resign from her disgraced position, as I hear might be the case, I would like to be considered as the replacement. I have a great deal of experience in education and have a background with our Latino students in Palmdale that I think would prove to offer valuable insight to this board. I live in Area 4, and it would be an honor to serve our students if the opportunity arises. Thank you. The next comment is from Fact. Perrell needs to resign. The next comment is from Erica Mora. From the constituents of Area 4, do better and resign and let someone else do it. That is all. The next comment is from Mike Kachi. I am old, and as I plan to retire from the district at the end of this year, I am now willing to speak up for any retribution against me from the board members of Area 4 and 5 would have no effect. I think you should know virtually every employee of the district wants you to resign. I'm not talking about the rep council's unanimous votes to support your recall. I'm talking about down in the trenches, the quiet ones like me who keep their heads down just to do their jobs every day. We want you to resign. You add anxiety to our lives. You make us wonder every day how much money you will cost us next, how much harder you will make our jobs. Who might you try to fire next? What funding might you vote down for no reason with no justification given? You may think in the back of your heads, but I know so-and-so in the district and they like me. There might be a handful out there somewhere, but they are too ashamed of you. They won't claim you in the lounge on break. They won't defend you because your actions are indefensible. Their silence on your behalf isn't out of fear of retribution. After all, who has gotten in trouble for defending you? Nobody. The few of them who do quietly tell you they support you are quiet for a reason. They are embarrassed of you too. The other 99% of employees, we literally pray for you to resign every single day. Do you hear that? Do you care? Thousands are praying to be relieved of what you put them through, praying for you to resign. If that doesn't sit heavy on you, then you are beyond feeling. The next comment is from Vivian. Good evening. I pray, let me try to recollect the shame and disappointment I felt from the last board meeting. When I first came to the district's meeting to learn the proper protocols to follow when addressing this board, I was appalled and still am, as I said before. I had to call Roni Thurman's office of Sacramento of the fact that many people, especially in the audience, and those we know of, like the famous racists Jill McGrady and John Rush, whose you all feed on your bullying tactics and discussing ways you call out an adult on the board like you did Rush, if or whether or not Perel was able to hear you before you would have tried to blast her off with your intimidation. And the fact Dan Shai can use the word damn and another speaker, shame on you all. You all should be ashamed of letting still a student Johnson hear your sad comments. Let's put the focus on these kids in the district and the real frontline employees and not you all who are filling your pockets that you know our superintendent won't say that it's obvious you know who you are. So let me say, stop the damn mess and racism. Stop trying to hire Anthony Hunt, who you all want at a black puppet, and John's on your suite, but you're not getting the facts. He accepted a coach calling kids the N-word. Please help this district with Dr. Ruffin. The last comment this evening is from Sean. Amanda Perel, grow a spine. You are elected to serve the needs of our students and families, not the whims of Victoria Ruffin. That concludes the non-agendized comments for this evening.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're at 7A, I believe, Educational Services. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees consider the recommendations as received by the County Superintendent of Schools to the 2020-21 Learning Continuity Plan, LCP, for AVUHSD at a public meeting pursuant to Education Code 43509C1. This is for information discussion. Mr. Meehan or Mr. Kelly? I'm not sure. Dr. Kelly, excuse me.
I'm happy to answer that, Mr.
Okay.
Brady. So this is the feedback, the recommendation that we received from Los Angeles County Office of Education with regards to our LCAP. And we will reflect this recommendation into the original LCP, and then we'll send an updated copy to LACO. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you. Moving forward, we are at B. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees review the proposed revisions to BP-AR as presented. This is, I believe, Ms. Williams.
Yes, this is a first read. California School Board Association recommends updating these board policies annually, and for this year is to delete material that are no longer operational.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions? Okay, moving on to C, Educational Services. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees review the proposed revisions to BP-AR as presented. And I believe, is this Mr. Neal?
Yes, thank you, Ms. McGrady. And these first reads are dealing with regulation updates to reflect new federal regulations and laws.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or discussion from anyone? Okay, moving forward to 8, to Business Services. This is an action item, ratification, change order number 1, bid number 2-2021, HVAC replacement units at Highland High School and Little Rock High School. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees ratify change order number 1 to Allison Mechanical Incorporated and authorize Brian Hawkins to execute the change order on behalf of the district. May I have a motion?
Motion.
That was Ms. Perrell, I believe. A second? I will second it. Do we have any
Second.
discussion? Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Dr. Ruffin? Dr. Ruffin? Dr. Ruffin, can you hear us? Are you voting?
Is she still on? Is she still available?
We'll check. We'll go ahead. Mr. Rush, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes, and I vote yes. And then we're checking on Dr. Ruffin. Hang on just 1 minute. We'll see if she's still
a
on.
participant in the meeting.
Okay, Dr. Ruffin? Okay, so that's 3 votes for yes, 1 no. There is no vote, and Mr. Johnson voted yes.
I just got a text message. The speaker isn't working. On her end, the speaker doesn't work.
Okay. Hang on, let me, okay, we're going to take a minute pause and see if we can figure out what to do. Okay, Dr. Ruffin, we are sending you a telephone number and you can call in, and that way you'll be able to participate in the meeting by phone. Just ask everybody to take just a minute and give us a chance to try to fix this so she can participate in the meeting, please. Okay, just as a FYI for everyone, we've sent Dr. Ruffin a telephone number for her to call into the meeting. So as soon as we get her on the line, we will pick the meeting back up. Thank you for your patience.
Mrs. McGrady?
Ma'am.
Is she going to be receiving that phone number via email?
I believe so.
Okay. I'll let, she asked me. She sent me a
Okay.
text.
Yep.
And Ms. Perel, this is Mr. Allen. If you're
Yes.
in contact with her, have her leave the meeting and then rejoin with the link that she originally had. If that
Okay.
does not work, then have her use the phone number.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Her computer's completely frozen, so she's going to be calling in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Ruffin, this is Mr. Allen. Can you hear me?
I can. I am trying to figure out how do I control the volume on the phone. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can. Welcome back.
Thank you. My computer totally froze. I appreciate the patience. Sorry.
Sorry, we have you back on, Dr. Ruffin, so let's go back and
Thank
get your
you.
vote on the last, we just did the vote on the replacement units. How do you vote?
7B?
8A.
Hold on. When I got off, we were on 7B. Hold on. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so that's 4 in favor and the student board member voted in favor, so that passes. We are at 9 administrative services action items. Adoption of board resolution number 2020-2110, National Hispanic Heritage Month. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution 2020-21-10, National Hispanic Heritage Month as presented. Mr. Nean, I think excuse me, we need to take I need a motion for that.
Motion.
Ms. Perel, thank you. A second? I will second it. Oh, okay. Was that Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Thank you. Any discussion?
So,
Thank
Ms.
you for
McGrady,
bringing this back for the resolution from the last meeting. Thank you so much.
Any further discussion?
Sure, Ms. McGrady, if I could just add, in support of Hispanic Heritage Month, The sites across the district participated in a number of different activities. Some examples of those: book readings, cultural dance videos from Los Leones at Eastside High School, a number of activities around the most influential individuals for students, art and music projects, and then a lot of conversations and lessons on Hispanic traditions and cultures.
Thank you, Mr. Ian. Any further questions or discussion? Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Ms. Burrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush? Mr. Rush? Mr. Rush, are you having?
No,
issues?
I got it corrected.
Thank you.
Yes, I
Yes.
voted yes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. McGrady, yes. So that's 4 for yes, and Mr. Johnson voted yes. It passes. We are at 10 to approve the consent agenda. Actions proposed for the consent agenda are items that are consistent with adopted policies and approved practices of the district and are deemed routine in nature. The board will be asked to approve all of the items in the consent agenda by a single vote unless any member of the board asks that an item be removed from the consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the items listed in the following consent agenda categories: educational services, student services, personnel services, business services, and administrative services as presented. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, that was Ms. Perrell, I believe. Any discussion?
Yes. I
Okay.
would like to pull several items.
Okay.
First, I would like to pull 14, C as in cat.
Okay.
I would like to pull pull under purchase order schedule 21-0143.
Would you give that one more time?
Yes. Miss McGrady, I'm gonna try to speak a little clearer. It's an echo because my computer is still on, so it's hearing both. Under purchase order schedule, the numbers are 21-0143.
Okay.
And that's Fagan Friedman and Full Frost.
Okay. What else?
And then the next one I'm pulling under there is 21-01903, Fagan Friedman and Full Frost Legal Services. And then I am pulling 21-02-034, L. Scott Frazier, PhD, Assessment for Employees. Under direct payment schedule, there are 4. DP David Paul 21-00129, David Paul 21-00149, David Paul 21-00150, David Paul 21-00151. All 4 of those are drop classes.
All 4 of those are what?
Are dropped classes under direct payment schedule.
And what else?
That's it.
Okay. So are you pulling these for separate votes or are you pulling these for discussion?
The first one, the first four are separate. The first three are separate votes, and the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are for discussion.
Okay, let's do the discussion ones first, and then we can vote on the consent agenda, and then we'll go back and vote on the others separately. Is that okay?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Sure. The ones for discussion, let's discuss them now, and then we can vote on the consent agenda, pass it, and then we can pull the ones that have been pulled individually. We'll vote on those. The other, I think you said 3, we'll vote on those separately, correct?
Yes. One. I just wanted to make sure. One other one that wasn't being missed. One other one. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure it's not in here.
So whenever you're ready.
Okay. Sorry. One moment. Did you mention administrative services under this collective vote as well?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a consent
I don't
agenda.
know.
So it goes through all of them.
Yes. So I'm asking for clarification right now. So here's a comment first. What I'm saying. Thank you to Mrs. Orozco for the board comments and the work that she does with memorializing the statements that we make. I know that I submitted to her all of my comments, and I know that during our last board meeting that the board agreed to attach the board comments, and I did submit my comments from the June board meeting there also. And as I read through our agenda, I noticed that here, I mean, we wouldn't have to discuss it, but I didn't see in here where it made mention to, it says that under 16 under consent agenda that administrative services, we approved the minutes, but it didn't say that there was an attachment of, it didn't mention that the board had agreed to attach my minutes. I don't know if that needs to be added to this. So I'm not sure if we need to pull this again to make sure that it's added, or how does that need to be duly noted and reported in this agenda?
Okay, so I'm
asking, do I need, at this point, is it necessary for me to pull the July 23rd meeting from under the consent agenda category under administrative services to add that language in there?
No,
because I can pull it.
It's the June 11th and the October 15th are the meetings that we're talking about tonight. And what we do is vote on the minutes, and then we are attaching your addendum to it.
Well, at the last meeting, Mrs. McGrady, we had already voted during that meeting as a board to add my board meetings there.
Yes.
And in this board meeting, it was just going to be noted in these minutes that that's what we agreed, but I don't see the notes there. That's what I'm saying, if that's clear. It's noted that the board approved all 4 of the meetings, the minutes from the 13th, from July 23rd, from August 13th, September 10th, and September the 23rd. It just doesn't have the note in it that we agreed to add the minute, the addition of the minutes that we agreed on it during the last minute.
We didn't agree on it. What we're doing is voting on the minutes, which we did vote for the minutes, and we are attaching your addendum to it. But we didn't take a vote to agree that, but we are doing that, yes.
What we voted during the last minute meeting we did vote during the last meeting to attach my minutes, my summary during the last meeting? We already agreed on that.
We voted to accept the minutes and we added your addendum to it.
Yes, during the last meeting. For several meetings, we already agreed to that. But what I'm saying is, we're saying the same thing, but what I'm saying is I don't see it noted here in this agenda that that's what we agreed on.
I think the problem is, okay, this is the June 11th meeting. It's not the July meeting you're talking about. This is June 11th and October 15th are the two that we're looking at for tonight. These are the ones we're voting on tonight. Yes.
So what I'm saying is when I gave Mrs. Orozco the minutes, I gave her the summary from all of the meetings, including June the 11th.
I think, told you at our last meeting, we would attach those to each of the meeting, but we as a board are not voting on those because we would have to go back and look at it word for word to see if that's what was said. And I don't think we should make Mrs. Orozco do that.
No, sorry.
Dr. Ruffin, maybe if I can help. So at the last meeting, you've sent in 3 statements to be attached to various minutes. The 2 from the last meeting that were on the agenda, and they were approved, and your statements were attached to those minutes. Tonight, we have 2 sets of minutes as well, one being June 11th, one October 15th. When you had submitted or when you had turned in or provided statements, one of those statements was for June 11th. Those statements would be added to the minutes that are on the agenda tonight, being June 11th. Does that help clarify?
So, yes, this is Dr. Vieira, right?
Correct.
So, right. So I sent in all of my summaries from all the meetings that we had previously had, which included June the 11th. Correct. And so I just wanted, exactly. So I just want to make sure that language is automatically added to the June 11th as well. So I think that's what I'm trying to say. Yes. Is that is added here too, so that I don't have to say it again.
Yeah, that's correct. We received all 3 of those, and those are being added to the minutes. The statement is added to the minutes. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. So then I don't have to pull that one. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Great. Okay, so I don't need to pull that. Thank you.
Okay. So what other ones did you want to discuss?
That's it. That's the only ones.
I thought had some others, the DP 21-00129. You had 4 there that you wanted to discuss before we vote on the consent agenda?
Yes, I'm ready whenever.
Okay, go.
So for discussion, I'm going to start with the DP 21-00129, DP 21-00149, DP 21-00150, and DP 21-00151. These were drop classes for our students. I'm not going to say their names for confidentiality, but these were classes in the amount of $900, $730, $1,500, and $500. And my question is, these are charges that students were refunded. So thank God they were refunded. But I was wondering, what type of classes are our students taking that they're being charged for?
Dr. Ruffin, this is Brian Hawkins. This is through our adult school. So don't confuse that with our regular 912 high school. This is our adult school, and the students pay for these classes. And a lot of these classes are like technology classes or our nursing classes, and they have to pay a portion of the class. And if they drop the class, then we refund the portion for the quarter or for that class period back to them.
Okay, so I am not aware of this. I've been in education this is my 23rd year. I'm working with a group of students now with transitioning them with college efforts. I worked for a number of years in dropout prevention. I am a strong advocate for our students doing concurrent enrollment. When I saw these type of fees for our students, $1,500, $730 for classes, and they're high school students. And I know many of them don't have jobs. I'm sure, that was, is there any way that you could provide this information to the board? And is there any way we can find out ways where we can incur these fees for these students? Because I mean, this is a lot of money for kids to be paying for courses while they're in schools. I know just 30 minutes down the highway, in the second largest school district in the country, our kids are not paying, to go to, for concurrent enrollment. So if there's anything that we can do as a school district to help compensate our kids with this type of fees, I would like to be aware of that and really advocate for them not to have these type of fees. And like I said, I was happy to see that they were being refunded, but I would like to be able to be more informed, or the board to be more informed about the ways in which we can support students with these type of fees.
Dr. Ruffin,
and it looks like we have a strong CTE program, but that was really surprising for me to review that and see that.
But Dr. Ruffin, these are not our high school students or CTE students. This is through our adult education, where they are in different certificate programs that we have welding, we have nursing. These are fees generally for the materials that they consume in the class, but these are adults that are taking these classes and charges. These are not our 18-year-old.
So these are not Antelope Valley Union High School District students. These are not any of our kids. These are not our students at all. You're saying that these are people who are 21 and older, and they're not Antelope Valley Union High School District students.
Dr. Ruffin, if I can help clarify, yes, these are not our 9 through 12 high school students. They're still technically students of the district. However, they are adults. And a number of these programs offer industry certifications that allow them to either get employed or advance in their current employment. And they do come at a cost. Sometimes they're paying the actual cost. Sometimes they're paying an offset cost based on how well adult ed can support the industry demand.
Okay, because we have full price for these. Okay, great. So this is not our 18-year-old adults, or these are not our 5th year, 6th year seniors who are, so just so that we're clear, these are not our students. These are adult community people within our community who are taking our adult ed classes and are choosing not to go to our community college and take career technical education support. They're choosing to go to our adult school, and we're charging them.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the clarification. My next question is for 2102034. It just kind of stood out that there was an assessment for an employee.
Dr. Ruffin, this is Brett Neal. Yes, that was it was a fit for duty assessment that we had done at the time.
What kind of assessment?
That's a fit for duty assessment.
Okay, got it. Fit for duty. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so those are the things that you needed for discussion. Are we good to vote on the consent agenda with the other items pulled to vote separately, correct?
Yes.
Everybody with me on this? Okay. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Aye. Ms. Perrell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. McGrady, aye. So that passed with 4 approvals, and Mr. Johnson approved. So now we go back to the, I believe it was 3 items that you wanted to vote separately on. The first one is 14C.
Yes. So under the, so I looked through this contract very thoroughly. The 5-year service wheelchair agreement. I don't know why we would go into a 5-year agreement with anybody, especially being in a pandemic.
I can help with that, Dr. Ruffin. The 5-year is a ThyssenKrupp requirement. We've had consistent 5-year contracts with them. What we've done this time is item 14C is a wheelchair lift. All of our theaters are required by law to have a wheelchair lift. And then further, they're required to be checked and maintenance provided every month on them. And so what we were able to do with this and item 14D is we had about 8 or 9 different contracts that all came due at different times, meaning different years, and we put them all together into one. So we have one contract for all of our theaters for the wheelchair lifts, and those are requirements by OSHA and the I believe it's an OSHA requirement that we have those serviced and maintained.
Sure, and we have, I mean, are they doing any other lists, for special education equipment, or is it just specific just to the wheelchair list?
It's just specific to the theaters wheelchair lifts because those are all electric. The special ed equipment, that's handled separately and different. These are elevator specialists, ThyssenKrupp. And so
okay, and how many theaters do we have?
We have 8 comprehensive high schools and they each have a theater.
And all of them have, and how long did you say we were in agreement with this company for?
Since we
Because I'm still not understanding. I mean, I read through it a few times and I'm still not understanding why do we have to bind ourselves for 5 years, even when we deal with multiple busing companies, multiple different educational companies for different services. Things change every year. Things change in different years. Why would we bind ourselves for a 5-year contract? And then I also see that even with this 15% off, there's a not to exceed a 5% increase every year. So it's not like there's a definite fee that they're going to have us hold at every year. They're still going to be charging us a 5% increase yearly as well. We don't really know, what's changing within our community with our pandemic. It just seems like a definite stronghold to require us a 5-year contract. There's no, what would be the cost? Do we have any? Could you share with the board if we went 2 years, if we went 3 years? What would those prices be?
Currently, ThyssenKrupp is the manufacturer of the lifts and of the elevators. So they're the only ones licensed that can work on these. They have, and this has to do with a state law that we have to have these maintained, and it's an OSHA.
But we don't have to go with the 5-year commitment.
That's all they offer is 5-year. And they're the only ones.
That's all they offer? That's
all they offer, and they're the only ones who can work on it because it's their equipment, and if it breaks, they have the repair repair parts for them.
And what were the comparables? They're not the only wheelchair company in 2020. So what were the comps? Because we only had this one to choose. I mean, this is the only thing that's been presented to the board. So what were the?
It would be like taking a Ford to a Chevy dealership. It's going to cost more to have a Chevy dealership fix a Ford than it would the Ford. It's the same idea here. They manufacture the and warranty these, that they will work, and these are all ADA requirements.
So we're doing business with a company that's basically a win-win for them either way. It's a forced agreement.
Well,
That's
it's not a
pretty
win.
much
They provide
what the board is. You're saying we're backed against the wall. We have to deal with this company and we're forced into a 5-year contract.
They only do 5-year contracts, correct?
No, I'm saying that it doesn't seem like this board is being presented with other options. Are you saying that this is our only option, or this is the only option that's being presented to us?
It's kind of like in the bidding when you have a sole source. You are familiar with sole source when you bid equipment and things. There's only one place you can
I'm
go.
not, because I'm not familiar with that, because that's not my job, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm a board member. That's not my job. That's why I'm asking.
I had mentioned that quite a while back. The sole source means that it's the only place you can get it. And in this particular case, this is the sole source for the repair and maintenance of the elevators and of the ADA required lifts in the theaters. So
right. So what I'm saying is this is what I'm saying. This is the only option that's being presented to this board, though. So there is no other options. There's no other comparable bids that are out there. This sole source is the only option that's being presented to our board. What you're saying is that we don't have anything else to compare it to, that we must vote on this, and our only option is to go into a 5-year agreement, because we don't have any other options. For the record,
for the record, it's the best deal we have out there to maintain the legality of our and usability of our wheelchair lifts and of our elevators.
In your opinion, because this is what you're giving us. You're not giving us anything else to look at, to compare. My eyes can't see anything else, so I have to go off of what you're telling me. No other board member has been able to look at anything else to compare it to. So this is what you're saying in your professional opinion. You're telling this board that this is your opinion, that this is our only option.
It is our.
I just want to be confident in my vote.
Yes.
If I can just make a comment here, we entrust Brian within his division to be the most knowledgeable in this area. So he went out, he did the research, he's bringing forward an item to the board for consideration. That's what we have at this point in time. I would suggest the board just take action on it, and then we'll proceed as the results come forward.
Okay, I made a mistake here. I apologize. We should have, before we started discussing, I should have asked for a motion and a second. Could I get that now? Need a motion?
Motion.
Thank you,
Second.
Ms. Rush. And was that Ms. Perrell?
Second.
Second, thank you. All right. Any other discussion or comments or questions? Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
No.
Okay, no for Ruffin. I'm writing these down. Hang on a second. And Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Aye, and Ms. McGrady, aye. So that passed with a 3-1 with our student board member voting yes. Okay, so then our next one, Dr. Ruffin? Before, you know what? If you'll give us the number, and then we'll get a motion and a second.
Yes. The number is 2101431. 43.
Okay, 210143. Do we have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Second.
Okay, I believe that was Ms. Perrell made the motion, and Dr. Ruffin made the, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Mr. Rush made it, and Amanda Perrell made the second. Is that what just happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Okay, your discussion?
So, as I stated before, this board does not have a current contract with Fagan Friedman and Full Frost. I'm not sure how we're able to approve monies for a vendor that we don't have a contract with. I know that it is Dr. Vieira's responsibility to inform the board of such contracts that are expired. I am going to speak very transparently. When I came onto this board, these are some of the things that I was looking for communication to be clear on. I can't say why they're not. But what I know for sure is in June, when I asked these questions, there were multiple opportunities for Dr. Vieira to say, yay, you know, our contract is valid or it's not. July, I asked the same questions. They were not. We just found out last month that they don't have a contract, and it's been 5 months. If I would have known that the contract wasn't valid last month, I wouldn't have voted to approve. I would never vote to approve any contract with the vendor ever now or the next 2 years or however long I'm on this board, even if I'm reelected, to approve a vendor that we don't have a contract with. So I don't know how these matters can be on here and we don't have a contract, and that's with the next item as well. We can actually vote on both together. We don't have to do them independently. That's for 2101903 as well. It's the same question. This item right here is for $7,929.88, and the other one is $38,513.50. Neither one of we don't have we have an expired contract with Fagan, Freeman, and Full Frost, but we do have a contract with AALRR that this board majority put $250,000 back in October, over a year ago, on there, that we could have been dealing with a viable law firm.
Dr. Ruffin, if I might, at
Yes.
least on this first item, the F3 bill for $7,927, if you'll notice there, it says sped half SELPA. That's for a case that a due process case that they sued us and the SELPA. The SELPA is the one that arranged for the legal defense, not us. And the SELPA's attorney is, they happen to use the special ed attorneys at F3. So this is a bill that whether we had a contract with this firm or not is irrelevant. We are splitting the bill with the SELPA for a due process hearing that I believe has been handled at this point, but we pay half the bill, the SELPA pays the other half, and the SELPA chose this attorney firm, not us.
Okay, so then that's good that you explain that and we can vote on them separately, because that you said that this is with the SELPA. I will vote differently for the SELPA issue than I will vote for this $38,000. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Okay, excuse me. Yeah.
Just one point of clarification as well. I wanted just to be, to let folks know that there is no legal requirement that vendors must have an existing contract to perform services for the district. However, in doing so, the vendor does run the risk of not receiving payment. So the board is not precluded from making payment. It's the risk that the vendor takes by not having a contract in place.
Okay, so let's vote. I believe the one with the SELPA was the first one. Is that correct? The 210143?
Yeah, 210143.
431. Okay. All right. So do we have any other questions or discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes, and Ms. McGrady, yes. So that one passes. 4 voted yes. Mr. Johnson voted yes. It passes. Okay, so we have one final thing, 2101903.
Right. And so like I was saying, Mrs. Dr. Vieira, I don't understand how a district, how a board can do business with any vendor that we do not have a contract with. And I heard what you said about in your belief that you believe that you have a right to do business with whomever you choose. But you know, like we know, and I understand that this has been a lockstep district in the past. I understand that it's been a status quo district in the past. And I understand that my position on this district has been a counter narrative to what has traditionally been. And I came to this district to serve, and I came to this district with full transparency, and I will continue to be that person because that is what I signed up to do. And with that being said, this board's responsibility, this board's one responsibility is to hold our superintendent accountable for the academic achievement of our students. We have one employee, and that has not been known or traditionally been the case of being known in this district, and I get that. Anything that has ever been passed in any traditional district outside of the Antelope Valley bubble is to be approved by the board. And this board has not approved a new contract with F3, which means that we do not have an open contract with them, just like we don't currently have an open contract with our sheriff's department, which I hope that we can resolve that soon before our students go back to school. But the fact of the matter is we don't have one. So I still will say, how are we doing business with them? And why would we leave our legal department barren just for your preference when we actually have a legal department that we put money toward? AALRRR. We have them available. So it's not like we don't have a legal team that's ready to serve and that has the capability of doing so. And I have the utmost respect for Fagan Friedman and Full Frost's ability to serve. It's not about their inability to serve. It's about doing things with order and decorum. And that is what the problem is. So that's why I'm going to vote no on this one. And I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. Once again, we need to get a motion and a second so we can vote on it.
Motion.
Ms.
Second.
Rush, second. Okay, that was Perrell. Any other comments or discussion? Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Perrell, Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
No.
No. And Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. And Ms. McGrady, yes. So that passed with a 3-1 vote and with Mr. Johnson voting yes. Okay, thank you. So we are now moving forward to 16 from the board superintendent. Let's start with Mr. Johnson. Do you have anything you'd like to discuss tonight?
I don't have anything at this moment, Ms. McGrady.
Thank you. Ms. Perrell?
I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving with family and friends and be safe as well.
Thank you. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes. So I'm wishing the Antelope Valley Union High School District a safe, well, and social distancing Thanksgiving season. Thank you to all the ICC presenters for an amazing job. And thank you to all of the students who I had a chance to talk with the last month. I love hearing from you, and I hope that your dreams and aspirations come to fruition. And to our seniors, I hope that you use this opportunity to work independent of your assignments, working diligently with your school staff, your parents, and possibly external supports with college submissions, scholarships, internships, and other post-college career work opportunities. Education has traditionally been the passport to open doors of opportunities, to grant access and change the life trajectory of those historically marginalized. I'm looking forward to the day when our students and our staff can return to safe learning spaces within our inner school walls. I came to serve in our district, and this is what I am going to do. I serve on other historical boards at this current time. Recently, I was called to represent a very high-profile Congress member and to support their candidacy and their slate for being reelected to a position. And my work speaks for itself. I am also looking forward to shifting our policies to service all students, not just a select few. This past June, the Board of Supervisors promoted an anti-racist LA County-wide agenda that is focused on our boards, is focusing on practices and policies and the ways in which we have traditionally conducted business. It's focusing on the systemic ways and the systemic racism that is rooted in these systems. And I understand that my asking questions on this board has the status quo upset. And I will continue to think about how the voiceless families will benefit in the future for these efforts today. The late John Lewis said it best: a democracy cannot thrive where power remains unchecked and justice is served for a select few. I'll keep speaking up for equitable options and fighting the good fight to shift the wheels of justice, because it does bend forward. Be safe, be well, be blessed, and good night.
Mr. Rush?
I would just like to thank everybody for their hard work. Wish them a great Thanksgiving, and really looking forward to the next meeting. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you. I need to just discuss with the board for a moment. Our next meeting is scheduled for December 10th, but and I believe this is new from the state. The new board cannot take office until the 11th. It has to be the second Friday of the month. So what I'm checking to see is if we have a consensus to move our meeting from that Thursday to the Friday. And if so, we can take a consensus tonight. And if not, I just need to know where you stand on that.
So if we don't move it, Jill, do we have two meetings then?
That's correct.
So we can move it from Thursday to Friday and have one meeting in December?
And have one meeting for the month, or we can leave it where it is, and then, but we'd have to have two meetings because the new board cannot take office until the second Friday, which is the 11th. For the reorg.
The 11th is fine. The 11th is fine.
I'm sorry, say it again.
I'm good with the 11th.
I
as well.
agree with the 11th. I
Okay.
agree with the 11th.
Okay, so did I hear everyone say yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Is the
very
time
good.
to be announced then on that, or
Say that one more time.
you'll determine a time later? I mean, I don't think we have to wait till 7 o'clock on Friday, do we? I mean, you can figure that out later, I guess, right?
Okay, sure.
Well, can we not keep it at the same time it is right now?
I would suggest we do it earlier. It's a Friday evening.
I would support an earlier start time as well.
Ms. Perrell?
What time are you suggesting, Ms. McGrady?
We could go 5, we could go 3. What would you like?
5 o'clock is the best time for me.
Okay, Ms. Perrell?
I don't mind 3 or 5. I can be in agreement with that.
Okay, Mr. Rush?
3 or 5 doesn't matter to me, either or.
Okay, all right. Well, we will check with staff and get back with everybody, but we will plan the reorg meeting for the 11th of December. It'll be either at 3 or 5. And
If
we will,
the three of us just at 5 o'clock, why can't we just agree on 5 right now?
well, everybody said, but you said 3 or 5.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's fair.
Okay. All right. So I would just like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Please be safe, and look forward to the time that we can meet in the boardroom again and see all your faces. Dr. Vieira.
Just the same, everybody have a safe, enjoyable Thanksgiving, and enjoy your time with family and loved ones, and take a little time to rejuvenate as well. Thank you and have a good evening.
Okay, we are at closed session. We were unable to have a closed session again due to a lack of quorum. So there is nothing to report out. We were not able to take any votes or do any of the work of the board. So we would like to close the meeting in memory and honor of two employees we lost just recently, Kathy Jarman with 30 years of service and Diane Gear with 24 years of service. These are both longtime dedicated employees of ours who have just recently passed, and our thoughts and prayers are with their families during this difficult time. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Ms. Burrell and Mr. Rush, a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Burrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. And Ms. McGrady? Yes. We are adjourned, and our next meeting will be December the 11th. Bye. Have a great Thanksgiving and stay healthy.